A story. Time for a story. Friday, will you take care of my mask? No, you better not. There. All right. We always welcome the ancestors when we start out. And I welcome the teaching spirits of my grandparents who gave me stories, and the teaching spirits of the Anishinaabe people from which they hailed, as well as the French-Canadian trappers far in the land of the north. And I acknowledge all of the other influences that show up in this story that I have lived with since I was a little girl in one version and another. How Skywoman came to earth. Well, it all starts when there was a time of a great, great flood. There was water everywhere, everywhere. And Coyote and Turtle were sitting on a raft. And Coyote was looking everywhere and he's saying, "Oh, Turtle, this is getting so boring. What are we gonna do?" And Turtle says, "I don't know, Coyote. I don't know. It is very, very bad. We need some land. Tired of all this water." Oh, meantime, while those two were complaining, up in Sky World, something else was going on. Let me tell you about Sky World. Sky World was way up high there, and growing there was a great tree of life, such as has never been known here on the earth. That tree was so great and so wide that 100 men holding hands could not quite encircle it. That's how it was. And that tree had in its vast branches every living kind of little animal and fruit and flower. It was indeed a true tree of life. At every season of the year, some parts were in bloom, some parts were in fruit, some parts were in seed. Part of the leaves were autumn, part of the leaves were winter, part of the leaves were spring with its bright gray greenness, and part of the leaves were the fullness of summer. What a wonderful tree. It is no wonder that Skywoman, who was big with her first child, decided to take a nap under that tree one day. And when she awoke, she realized that she had had a dream such as she had never had before. She dreamed that the great tree of life must be uprooted, pulled out by the roots. And that reminds me, I haven't told you about those roots. And nobody in Sky World even knew about these roots or even talked about these roots. It had 4 great taproots, and one of them was almost white in color, and one of them was a kind of a red-brown in color, and one of them was a kind of a brown-black in color, and one of them was a kind of a yellow color. But nobody knew about these. Well, Skywoman had this dream, as I said. The tree must be pulled up. She went to her husband, who was the Sky Chief, and told him about it. And his face grew dark and sad. For he knew that a time of great change must be coming to all the people. And he knew that the dream of a woman who was expecting her firstborn child must be respected. Keep that in mind. Must be respected. And so he called forth all his warriors and he said, "Come, let us try to uproot this tree." And they gathered around it, and of course that didn't work. And then they all got on one side of it, and they all pushed. And that didn't work. And they tried the north side, the south side, and the east side, and the west side. And they could not budge that tree. So the Sky Chief said, "All right, everybody, go back to your houses. Don't come out until I call you." And he went under that tree. And he sat down where Skywoman had been sleeping when she had that dream. And he began to sing. Hi-yo, oh, yeah, hi-yo, hey, yeah. Hi-yo, hey, hi-yo, 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 hey, hi-yo, hi-yo, hey, hi-yo, hey, hi-yo. Ah, we need to baganino, anishina big hey oh hey oh hey oh. And this went on and on, and on. He sang and he sang and he sang, and I have just given you a tiny little sense of that song. It was so powerful that if you were to hear it, it might bring energy that you couldn't handle. That's the truth. But this is a little taste of it. And as he sang, he summoned forth the great four winds, the winds of the north, the winds of the south, the winds of the east, and the winds of the west. And they came and they swirled around that great tree, going ever faster and faster and faster. And then with a great upward thrust, they uprooted it. As in Skywoman's dream, the tree came completely out of the ground of Skyworld and fell over with a huge crash, dislodging the homes of many little animals and birds, scattering seeds and fruits and leaves and twigs and branches everywhere. And when the commotion had died down, Sky Chief told all the people to come out of their lodges with their gathering baskets. And he said, "It's time to gather the things that have fallen from the great, great tree. Help the little animals who have lost their homes to find new homes. Gather the fruits and keep them for the next season. Gather the seeds and replant them. You know what to do. Only one thing. Do not go near the hole made by that tree." I hope you're listening. Do not go near the hole made by that tree. Yes. Well, the people did as they were told. And Skywoman too, she had her gathering baskets on her back and was filling them with seeds and all kinds of things. But, you know, she was getting nearer and nearer that hole. She was the one who had had the dream now, wasn't she? She was the one. She had to see that great hole left by the roots of the tree. And she got nearer and nearer the great hole, and she got close to the edge, and she crept over toward the edge, and she looked down. She looked down, and she had very sharp eyes. She had very sharp eyes. And she looked down, 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 and through the hole made by the falling of that great tree, she could see to the earth below, and she could see a great mass of water, and on that water a raft, and on that raft a coyote and a turtle. Now, she had never seen a coyote or a turtle before. They didn't happen to have those in Skyworld yet. And she leaned over a little farther to get a better look, and a little farther to get a... Uh-oh. You guessed it. She slipped. She began to fall down, 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 down to the water below. And just at the point that she began to fall, Coyote, with his very sharp eyes, happened to look upward, and he said, "Oh dear, here comes Skywoman. We gotta make some land for her to land on. What will we do, Turtle?" And Turtle said, "Well, there's some ducks over there. Why don't you ask them to come here and dive down? I think there might be some mud underneath all this water. Coyote, you're forgetting you know some magic. You take some of that mud when they come up with it. You rub it on my back, sing one of your songs, and we'll make an island for her in the middle of all this water." "Good idea." And Coyote called over all the ducks. 4 of them came swimming over, and a couple of swans as well. And he looked up again, and he saw that Skywoman was falling a little fast. So he told those 2 swans to go up, one on each side of her, and slow her fall down. And they were happy to do that, so up they went. And then he explained to the rest of the ducks the problem. Well, the merganser duck came forward right away and said, "I can hold my breath longer than anyone. Everybody knows that. I'll do it." Take a deep, deep breath with me. Help me out here. And down he went. Down and down and down and down and down. Down, down. And everybody was waiting for him. Could he come up with a little bit of clay? Up he came out of all that deep water, and no clay. "Quack, quack, 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 quack," said the mallard duck. "I can do a better job than that. Let me do it. Let me do it. I can do it." Big deep breath. And down he went. Down and down and down and down and down and down. You think he's going to make it? Up he came. No clay. Then Lady Loon came forward, and she was showing off that beautiful black and white feather necklace she likes to wear. You've seen it. And she said, "Let me try, let me try. I can hold my breath longer than anyone." And she took a great big breath. And you all know loons can hold their breath for a very long time. And down she went, down and down and down and down. And they all waited, and indeed they were all holding their breaths with her. And down and down and down and down and down. And then no clay. Came forward a young grebe. The young grebe came forward, and he said, let me try, please, let me try. I want to make a landing space for Skywoman. I want to help Skywoman. Please let me go." "You're too young," said Turtle. "You just don't even have all your feathers yet. Let me go, please." Well, there was no stopping the little grebe. And he took a great, deep breath, and everybody else took a great, deep breath with him, and down he went, down and 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 down. And he kept thinking, I want to make a safe place for Skywoman. I want to make a safe place for Skywoman. Please help me to make a safe place for Skywoman to land. Oh, please, please. And he was going down, and he felt like his little lungs were on fire. And Coyote looked up, and the swans had indeed slowed down Skywoman's fall, but the winds were beginning to blow around, and things were coming out of her basket, and seeds and things were dropping down to the waters below from her baskets. "Hurry up, little grebe, hurry up, little grebe," said Coyote. And way down deep under the water, the little grebe thought he could not hold his breath for 1 second more when he touched mud with his bill and his little webbed foot. And then He came up to the raft, but his eyes were closed. And Coyote pulled him onto the raft. And they saw that in his bill was some clay, and in his foot was some clay. And Coyote took that clay and he put it on Turtle's back. And he said a magical prayer that time has forgotten, but it went something like this. Earth come and land grow, make us safe for everyone. Earth come and land grow, make it safe for everyone. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey, hey, hey. Yeah. And Turtle's back grew and grew, and it became a beautiful island. And all those seeds that had fallen began to grow. And this was a magical time, and there were trees and bushes and grass. And from the trees came many different kinds of animals that hadn't lived on the earth before. And they gathered in a circle to greet Skywoman as she landed with both feet safely on Turtle's great, expansive back. And she looked down, and at her feet she saw the little grebe. And she picked him up and held him against her heart as they all celebrated the coming of Skywoman, who would now represent their Mother Earth here on Turtle Island. Hey, 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 Earth, the mother, we must take care of her. Hey, oh. Well, the animal people lived together very happily for a very long time. They loved one another. Skywoman and Coyote were their leaders. Skywoman and Coyote taught them how to make fire and how to cook their food when it needed to be cooked, and how to be kind, and they all spoke the same language. And Coyote used to sit in council sometimes with Skywoman beside a great waterfall. And one day, he noticed that her long hair, which had become silver, was becoming transparent, and her whole body was transparent. And then she just melted into the water. And he called to the people. He called to all the animal people. And he called to the two-legged people. For Skywoman had given birth to two-legged people when she first arrived. And he said, now you see, the earth truly is our mother, and we must really take care of her. And somebody asked the question here, but what about Skywoman's children? Who were Skywoman's children? How did that part turn out? When Skywoman gave birth, she gave birth not to one child, not to two, not to three, four. 4 children. You know what they're called? Quadruplets. There were 2 girls and 2 boys. And the skin color of the children was very interesting. Not one of them was alike. One of them was a kind of a brownish red. One of them was a kind of a blackish brown. One of them was almost white. And one of them was a sort of yellow color. And those 4 people became the beginning of the human race on this planet. That's what I was told when I was little. I add this part at the very end, though. I don't tell it to everybody all the time because it's not part of the tradition, but it was what I was given as a child. And I used to think it was either my grandmother or my godmother, because they came from the indigenous side of the family, who must have told me that part. But then I remembered something that happened when I was 6 years old. We lived in Portland, Oregon, where my father was teaching, and it was Christmas time, and we went to look in the store windows of Meyer and Frank. And right standing next to me was what we then called a colored family, and someone was holding this delightful little 2-year-old girl up so that she could see the beautiful window more clearly. And up until then, I had never seen anybody as beautifully brown-black as that. And I said, "Daddy, what happened to her skin?" And my father said, "That's not a polite thing to ask. That's her natural, beautiful color." And that night, he took me home, and he started a series of stories that he made up for me every night as I was falling asleep about little twins of different nationalities, each one a boy and a girl. The boy and the girl had similar adventures, similar privileges, and each one in each culture was special and honored. And I think somehow, in the course of telling this story, which I've told in one version or another since I was 10, I have integrated my father's interracial wisdom and good heart with the end of the story, because of all the grief I have seen our world go through over the issues of not embracing multiculturalism, of not embracing race, of not really one race. We're a human race with different variations. Not embracing those that are different from us and not making sure that they have equal rights. My father, and of course this story, reflect the idea that we all come from the same Creator and that we are equal in Creator's eyes. And what we do with that great gift of life is our challenge in being here. And part of that challenge is taking care of people that haven't had the same advantages as we have. God bless all. Amen. Hi-ho, yeah-ho-ho. Hi-ho, yeah-ho-ho. Anishinabekeyo, hey-ho. Oh, we need tabatna.